What's going on, Shakopee High School? My name is John Rose. I'm a counselor in the Freshman Academy, and I'm glad to see you checking out our video on Black History Month. This month, we'll be sharing different pieces of content and hearing from different students of all kinds of different types of backgrounds, and specifically from our Black and African American backgrounds as well. You'll hear different stories about their lives, experiences, many of which you may find that you can relate to as well. And I would say that's the goal of what we're trying to do, and the goal of Black History Month as well, is that we're a diverse community and we're a great community, and we're trying to continue to build that bonding. So the more you hear those stories of other people and you connect with other people, you may see a little bit of yourself as well, and maybe that builds some more common ground. So you'll be seeing pieces of these throughout Black History Month, and we encourage you, if you like this video, to click the like button. Make sure you subscribe to SHS Counselors on YouTube, and then I would say also go ahead and share this on some of your pages with people who you might think might enjoy this as well. So without further ado, we're going to get started talking about what it's like to grow up with Black families. See you there.
I'm going to introduce, we've got 4 awesome students with me today. I'm super excited about this. We've got Baba here, who's in 10th grade. Hey, Baba, how you doing?
I'm good.
All right. All right. We also have Mukrama, who's here. She is in the 12th grade. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. And Mandeep, 9th grader. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Okay. And we also have Lexi. Hey, Lexi, how you doing?
I'm good.
And Lexi is one of our seniors. Well, folks, welcome. And we're going to jump straight into it. And I want to begin by having a conversation about what it's like growing up in Black families as it relates to school and academics. Now, I am guessing that you all are growing up in families, and your families have different beliefs about what they expect from you from school. So let's start. I'll start with Baba, who's sitting right next to me on my screen. Tell us a little bit about kind of your experience, what your parents and your family's beliefs are about academics.
Academics is very, very important in my house. It's like one of the things they say is like, no one can take away how educated you are. So it's better to educate yourself as much as possible. They're like, they want A's. You can get a B, but anything below like a B is not really acceptable. It's like, you should have done better. You could have done better. We take school very seriously in my house.
That really speaks to the importance that they have about education. Mukrama, I'm wondering, you were kind of grinning and smiling when you were hearing that. I wonder if you had similar experiences?
It's pretty similar, but like I feel like every person who wasn't like born in America, like parents accept more like, oh look, we could have brought somebody else, but like you're here, so you have to like outshine, you have to do the best that you can, get really good grades, and hopefully be successful. So like you inspire like your siblings and stuff.
So in addition to that, you have, I bet some of you have families where your parents have come into America, which means now you have that added expectation that we didn't come here just to play games. We came here to handle business.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. My mom definitely does that quote thing, like Baba said, like, oh, nobody's going to take away your education. I mean, she's right. And she didn't have like the ability, like she didn't get to go to college because she had to leave her country. So she's kind of like, oh, you need to go to college. But at the same time, about like grades, she's not like, oh, if you bring anything less than a B, like I'll kill you, or not. Whoa. I'm like not like really strict. Like she'll be disappointed. Like she'll be like, and I think that's like a better approach to it, because then you won't feel the pressure as much. But then her being disappointed, it's just like got you like, wow, I really could have done better, huh? Like now I've got her just so disappointed, and it's really like something you're like, wow, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that. Like my parents are always like, you're here because my parents immigrated from Ghana. They're like, you're here, you have all this opportunity that we didn't have, so you have to take advantage of that opportunity. So like whatever you can do to, better yourself in the best way is what you have to do.
What I'm hearing too is, you have families who have high expectations, but they also are almost looking at it realistically, like as long as you're kind of doing the best that you can, you're showing that you put forth an effort. Although I do wonder though, if any of you have ever brought home a grade that maybe wasn't, let's call it what it is. Let's say you brought home a bad grade. You know it was a bad grade. How do they react?
Okay, I can definitely relate to that one. I brought home like 2 bad grades last year, and honestly, I felt really bad because I was like, now they're gonna be disappointed because they didn't have all this opportunity. I had this opportunity and I didn't, and I failed it. Like, I messed it up. And so I felt really bad about that. And like they knew last year, like that specific class, I was like trying really, really hard. And sometimes things just don't work out. So they weren't mad. They weren't that mad. They're like, oh well, next time just do better. Because I guess they understood the situation because the class was pretty hard.
I'm guessing, and I'll throw this out to all of you. Do you feel like your expectations for yourself academically match what your parents are? Maybe your parents have higher expectations, or maybe do you have higher expectations for yourself?
I think I have the same expectations, and I don't know if that's just because I've grown up with that ideal in my head, but it's this A's and B's are kind of the only really acceptable things, but we won't like kill you if you get anything less. And I think they're understanding of things. And in that aspect, I think I'm a little more hard on myself because I want to do better than it's okay. I want to like push myself further, but I think also part of that is because I don't want to let them down.
Yeah, I relate to that. Like, I don't know. It's like it's weird for me because I feel like they have really high expectations for all of us. So like if we meet it, that's great, but if we don't, then like it's not going to be terrible, because my parents are like, you could literally do anything in this world that you want to. You just have to put your mind to it. So like they set really high expectations. They know that some of the expectations are not like exactly reachable, but like if you get anywhere close, then that's good. So that's like what I put in my head. I'm like, because for me, it's just like if you don't try your best, or if you try your best and you just don't get there, there's nothing you can really do about it. All you have to do is try your best every time.
I also agree because like I feel like my parents' expectations and mine kind of match, but like and I also like push myself because I don't really like being told like constantly you have to keep your grades up and stuff. So I make sure that I have good grades. So I don't have to explain to my parents why I have that bad grade or something like that.
Yeah, just like everybody, I think me and my mom's like expectations match up and line up or whatever. But like Mukarama said, like if somebody's constantly telling me, oh, you have a C in that class, you have a whatever in that class, you start to feel like this is starting, like the pressure starts to build up, and then you're like, okay, this is like, even if you have these goals for yourself, you're kind of like, okay, and now I don't want to do this. You're making this harder for me, and it's just like too unbearable. Like you need to calm down. So I think that my mom, in that sense, she's not really on my case about that kind of stuff, and I think that's great. But I feel really bad for some people who are just like every day, like, oh, what are your grades? What are your grades? So that's just like, you know what I mean? Because sometimes grades aren't telling of how well you're actually trying, how much you're trying in that class. So yeah.
Yeah, two things that you pretty pointed out, man, Deke, that are really interesting is one is this idea of how pressure, while there's a good intention behind it, you want, sometimes parents or people want students to do well, but the pressure winds up kind of having the negative effect of making things almost worse. And then two, another common theme that I'm hearing and what I want to transition to is your family's having aspirations for you in the future. And so I'm wondering kind of what is it that your parents maybe aspire for you to have, even after you finish high school? There's always like the stories that I hear about, parents want to have doctors and lawyers in the family, or I see people nodding their heads, right? So I wonder then for you, right? Did your parents have expectations for you after high school? What do you think they see you doing in the future?
My parents are very, after high school, you go to college. And when you go to college, you have to go to a good college. You're not going to go to like community college is not really an option unless the plan is to go there to get your generals and then go to university to study whatever. It's very, you go to college, you do this. But my parents don't really have a like set occupation they want us to do that they like set on us. It's like whatever we want to do to an extent. Like, parents are like, oh well, you shouldn't do that, or like things like that. So they're like, do they want us to be like, they want us to do something smart, if that makes sense. I don't know, like you have to be smart to do, right? So, and it's like when you do that thing you have to be smart to do, you have to like get to the top. It's always the top of whatever you want to do. That's how it is for my parents.
Honestly, same. And so the thing is, I do actually want to become a doctor. So I guess my mom had a miracle child who matched up with whatever, like, so I guess in that sense, it's not like any rocky relationship where she's like, you do this. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. So, I mean, we don't really fight on that. And for college, like she wants me to go to a good school or whatever. And so do I. I want to go to a good school as well. So we don't really have any conflicting ideas on college. Like she's like, whatever like you do in that sense, like don't switch up on me in like senior year and be like, oh, you want to do something else. Like she's like, oh, in that, like I'm here for you, whatever. But she's like, if in senior year you're like, I want to be a photographer and switch up on me, that's not gonna be a good thing.
Yeah, my family, it's always been sort of like where you're going to college, not what like you're gonna do after high school. So I know now that like if I went to a trade school because I was doing something else with that, like college wouldn't be useful, or if I was joining the army or something, like they would have been fine with that, but there had to be something there. I couldn't just not go somewhere. And they weren't very picky on like what I did. All they knew was that it shouldn't be something that they considered more of a hobby. So like as much as I love fine arts, it wasn't something they wanted me to do as like the rest of my life. I knew that wasn't going to be a thing. So anything I wanted to do, just like Baba said, like anything I wanted to do, but there were boundaries that they would have, set in place if it wasn't good enough, I guess, for them. They just wanted me to have something I was like content with, but also successful with, because I still had to make enough for my life.
For me, it has always been like go to school, go to high school, go to college, and then become a doctor, because that's literally what this family, like what they really want. They want at least one doctor, because like my parents growing up wanted to be that, but like didn't have the opportunity. But like as I've thought about it more, and I'm just like, okay, maybe I will just like explore college, see what like fits for me within that field. And like if I don't like it, then I'm gonna try to like expand to something else.
So, for a lot of you, it's not a matter of if you go to college, but where and when. And the where is also very important, that I also heard too. Um, and it's interesting to hear you all talk about like this, like there's an ideal almost, it maybe not be a specific occupation, but you know what the right occupation is. I like what Baba said about how, they favor like the intellectual occupations, the ones that you got to get a couple of degrees for. So one final question I guess I would have for you before we wrap up is, I heard the word success get thrown around as well. And so I wonder, how would your family define success?
I'm not gonna lie. It's not about how happy you are in your occupation. It's about how much money you can make and if you're helping people. Like that's what's successful to them. But like, jobs where you're not making that much money, but you are helping people, then it's like, you know, no, not like that. Because again, you know, for my parents have the expectation that you get like 5-6 degrees, you're going to be making a lot of money to do whatever. And that occupation, you're probably going to be helping people. So I think that's how they identify success, for my family at least.
Yeah, it's the same. Like for my mom, it's like I think a lot of people when they hear that, oh, they want to know how much money you're gonna make. They're like, oh, well, your parents don't really care about your happiness. They're this. But at the same time, like they've seen what not having that much money is, and having coming from a struggle is, and in their minds, being financially stable, and I guess not being bored with your job is like a struggle that they're willing to take to have those resources and have that money. And it's like really important for my mom, for me to make enough money, I'm able to send her and my grandmother and everybody who is still in Somalia money for them, because most of them don't work. So that's really important for her.
Success in my family is like the same as Bala and like Mandeep said. It's basically like having a stable job, getting good education, and like having a job that like I'm able to support myself and my family, and like also helping the community. So
My family's also all about stability, and like they want me to have like, I guess, some like contentment. That's not necessarily like being happy with the job, but like content enough that you'll be able to work there like for a good amount of time and just be stable. And that's sort of like the success point for us.
And it's interesting to hear the common themes, even though all of us come from different families and some different backgrounds and things like that. And it's amazing how these, how our families influence so much of what we do academically. And even growing up in different backgrounds and different cultures, there's always these kind of common themes and these common goals and aspirations that our families have and that we have for ourselves as well. This was a great conversation. Again, this was our celebration of Black History Month at Shakopee High School. And our first conversation was all about growing up in Black families and growing up in families of different backgrounds and what they expect for us to have in terms of academics. So stay tuned for future episodes. And if you haven't done so already, feel free to like this video, subscribe to our channel for future episodes as well. And I want to thank you all, my panelists, for joining us today. You all have shared with us some great stuff. So totally appreciate it. Everyone else, we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for stopping by.